Hello and welcome to the 30th video in the Project Sovereign series. In this video, I'll complete the detail for the dorsal neck area of the ship. I'm anxious to see how this turns out, so let's get started. So now the time has come to add these windows to the back of the neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of guidelines just so I can place them on a nice curve. So all I need to do is get out my line tool, create this line. I'll probably have to refine this on my model, but I'm just using the plan as a rough guide, and then I'll unhide the model so I can refine it further. Something like that. I'll give it more interpolation, just because I can. And I'll make a copy for this top row too. Bring this over. So that's probably going to be pretty good. Bring them up here. And as you can see, since the last time we spoke, I've added the armor plating detail up here, as well as on the back. These are all techniques that I used to build these. So there was nothing really new here. So I got the work done off camera. But now it's time to put in the windows. And we can see how these match up. So not too bad. I think this is actually going to work. Let me check my reference. Yeah, they start a bit down. And they're actually quite far from this bottom part. So I need to keep that in mind. You know, my brain wants to say that it's right in the middle because it likes to divide things evenly, but that's not really the way that it is, usually most of the time. So I just got to keep that in mind, which is why I always check my reference. So that looks to be about right. I'm going to move it down a little bit more. And maybe make this a little bit deeper. Check that again. Just checking back and forth. That looks to be about right. And just because I'll put these in the middle. Just like that. So now I can create a window blank, which I don't think I've shown before. So let me do that. So super easy, very basic stuff, just bringing a box into existence. Doesn't really matter the size. And it just so happens that I have a blank over here that I'm going to use for the side of the secondary hull. So I can use this as a guide. .5 meters. Let's see how that looks on top of the model. That looks to be about right width-wise. Yep. Not very large windows. It's fun when you start building things in scale like this. They tend to be a lot smaller than you would think. But yeah, it looks like this is only about half a meter. And the length doesn't really matter that much. Just do 7.5. Okay. So now another thing that you'll notice is that these windows they curve out, which is why I made that line, of course. So I need to keep that in mind, that it's not perfectly straight up and down. And one thing that's going to make my life easier is moving this pivot point just back here. It'll make it easier to turn, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you see just like that. Now I'm going to convert this to an editable poly. I'm actually going to move these, make sure my edge constraints are on. Just move these back. Just so it's like intersecting this. It's not going to be perfect, but I do need to use this as a guide. Now, what I can do is, I can see on my reference, there are 5 windows in this area. So what I can do to make my life a bit easier when copying these, let me just check this again. Yeah, looks like I got the spacing right there too. Is to use the array tool. Now, I don't know if you know about this, but it's pretty cool. So under Tools, Array, I want to click Preview because I want to see what I'm actually doing. I want 5 total in my count. And what I can do is, oh, look at that. So I can make multiple copies and I can manipulate them in real time. See, just like that. I can rotate them. Just so I get a nice even sort of spacing with this. Now I'm going to refine the geometry to fit this curve. There's no way I'm going to be able to make it work by spinning everything around. They're just, it's not going to work. What I want to do is I want to manipulate these vertices so that they line up with this guideline that I drew. And I can fiddle with this to my heart's content. And then I can manipulate it later. So it just made it a little easier for me to get this nice kind of fan spread on these windows. So I'm just going to click OK. I'll make sure the copies first because I don't want instances because weird things happen. Just click OK. And then just one by one, I can manipulate the vertices to fit where they need to go. Okay, so all my ducks are in a row, so to speak. All of the vertices have been aligned to the curve and things are looking generally well placed, at least for now, but you never know how things are going to turn out until you actually do the carving. But there's one last thing that I need to do. Right now these are too sharp on the corners, and you'll notice the other windows that I've made, they have this rounding, these rounded edges just like in the movie. So what I need to do is really simple, actually. Just want to create a chamfer. And let's see, just a standard chamfer. I'm going to do 0.05. I want them to be, it's a little too microscopic right now. There we go. That's going to work fine. And just simply copy and paste. There we go. So I don't really care about this beveling up here because this surface will not interact with the hull itself. So I can just ignore them. All I care about is what's going on the edges right here. So I'm going to carve out these windows and apply the materials. I've shown this a couple times before in a different video. So if you're interested, you can watch those, but I'm not going to do it again because it'll just be redundant. But I will set out to make the rest of the windows on the back of this next section. So the next time you see me, we're going to have some windows done. And there you have it. The window blanks have been cut into the hull and have been properly materialed and smoothed. So this area is basically done. Just time to move on to the rest of the secondary hull. I also added, I don't know if you saw, but I also added the nav light that belongs back here, and I just copied the ones that I used around the saucer. Just give it a bit more of a cohesive look. So in the next video, I'm going to start on this area, including the photon torpedo launchers and the little sensor node right here. Maybe I'll get to this too. This whole area. That might have to wait for the video after that though. So we'll see what happens, just how quickly this goes. But it's starting to move at a pretty good clip now. I'm getting more confident in what I'm doing. And I always move quicker when things are nearing the end. So almost done with the modeling portion of this ship. Then it'll be texturing and lighting. And finally rendering. So really excited to get to that part too. So I hope you've been enjoying these videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.